The Champions League is back and there's a meeting of old foes. Jose Mourinho faces Alex Ferguson as Man United travel to Real Madrid. Plus, we'll take a look at this weekend's Six Nations rugby. Well, joining me on Sports Spread this week is Matt Glazier from bettingpro.com. Matt, thanks very much indeed for joining us today. Let's start with the Champions League next week. The meeting of these old foes, Mourinho and Ferguson. People say they've got a huge amount of respect for each other. And in some ways, you might think Mourinho's a bit more under pressure because Barcelona allegedly have already won La Liga title. Yeah. So is the pressure on Mourinho, or is it a really difficult one to tell how this was going to go?
The pressure's on both of them, really, for different reasons. I mean, for Fergie, he very much wants to finish his legacy at Manchester United with another European Cup win, which would really be the icing on the cake. He probably couldn't believe his luck when Real Madrid came out of the draw and you know, the toughest possible opponents. But Real will probably regard that in a similar fashion. I mean, it was 10 years ago that Mourinho was racing down the touchline as a victorious Porto manager, and now he's apparently got tensions with the Real Madrid camp, with the players. But he's already gone and won the Champions League with Porto. He's won the Champions League with Inter Milan. Obviously can't be written off. He's a Champions League manager. So the pressure is on Mourinho. It's his last season at Real Madrid.
And of course, don't forget this is a two-match tie, so that the first match doesn't obviously win it. So yes. How do you see this one going, actually, in terms of the match? Well,
Manchester United have the advantage of going to the Bernabeu first, really, and looking to try and contain Real Madrid. They'll look to get the away goal, though. They certainly won't. A 0-0 isn't necessarily a great result for United because then it invites pressure in the second leg as well. So they'll look to have that extra edge thanks to having Van Persie this year, which they've not had before, and obviously Rooney's come into form. But whether Ferguson is cautious and looks to just secure a score draw, that would be an ideal result for him, really.
Okay, and what are the bet makers that we've just put the numbers up on the screens? But how does the market look at this one, just this match?
Well, I think that I mean, Real are heavy odds on to win this particular game because they really don't want to be going to Old Trafford with it level pegging or with some kind of deficit. And as I say, United are 9-2 because they don't have to win the game. They obviously, as I say, a draw isn't a bad result as well. Although some will look at that 9-2 and think, goodness me, Manchester United are winning games every week at the moment. They walked in their Champions League group. Manchester City led twice at the Bernabeu during the group stage and before losing 3-2. So, but then there's the Ronaldo factor to take into consideration.
OK, let's move on to some of the other games. And Celtic against Juventus. Celtic doing very nicely in the Scottish League without too much opposition, one might say. Juventus also doing pretty well. Celtic at home, how does the bookmakers look at this particular game?
Well, Celtic on the outright market are the whipping boys, really. They're the rags, they're the outsiders, and so whether or not, but then there's no pressure on them to go and try and go all out, really. As they beaten Barcelona, I mean, they've got to take that into the match. Over 2 games against Barcelona, on aggregate, they were 3-3. They were level pegging with the outright favourites. So they'll take that into the match.
They've got to win this one, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got to go out and get a win. That's the bottom line, really. They cannot go to Turin and expect to get through without a 1, maybe 2 goal lead. Whether that's possible against a team who are made up of so many Italian internationals, such a brilliant team who are organised creatively by Andrea Pirlo is another matter. But we'll see.
OK, Valencia, PSG. I mean, PSG, the new boys on the block, the new moneyed boys, as it were.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Valencia have been a permanent fixture of the Champions League for so many seasons, and PSG haven't, but they are managed by Carlo Ancelotti, who has won the competition with Milan. They have a formidable striker in Zlatan. Whether Beckham makes an impact or not remains to be seen, but even aside from that, they're defensively are very strong. And I think the bookies are making them slight favourites to get through that tie, which could be a very evenly matched one.
OK, and our final Champions League match of next week, Shakhtar Donetsk, talk about new boys on the block, and Borussia Dortmund, who are just behind Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. But how do the bookmakers look at this one?
Well, they make Dortmund slight favourites to go through on account of the fact they're German champions. They won a tremendously tough group which included Real Madrid and included Manchester City, so to win that group was formidable. Shakhtar also came through a difficult group, finishing ahead of Chelsea, although behind Juventus in the end. You've got 2 really attacking teams there who are going to be going hell for leather in both of the games. Neither of them are defensively great. Shakhtar have just sold their best player, Willian to Anzi, and that really may reduce them in terms of, might give Dortmund the edge. Dortmund are probably focusing mostly on this competition rather than the Bundesliga this year. OK, let's turn our attentions to the rugby for this weekend.
Scotland, Italy to start with. I mean, the Scots under pressure, having lost their first game. The Italians, they can't lose, can they? Effectively, as far as the betting market turns.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, Italy have gone and pulled another great result out of the bag at home against France, but now the bookmakers are starting to respect them when they go on their travels as well. I mean, Italy haven't really gone away in the Six Nations and won too many matches so far, but as you say, they've got no pressure going to Murrayfield. They've got a nice, handsome win against the French. Scotland took a bit of a beating at Twickenham last weekend, and all of a sudden the wooden spoon would be theirs if they didn't win this match, and there'll be an expectant crowd at Murrayfield. So yeah, I think Italy with the handicap could be the way to go.
And talking of wooden spoons, dare I say France against Wales? I mean, whoever loses this is in real trouble, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and you'd think it would be Wales based on their first half performance against the Irish. I mean, France obviously have got a point to prove in front of an insistent Paris crowd. They should win the game. Whether they beat the handicap, they probably will at 8 points, which I saw was at the latest one as well. And as for Wales, goodness knows what's happened there. It's 12 months ago they were winning the Grand Slam, and now they're on this 8-match losing run.
Okay, and finally then, Ireland-England, the betting market makers don't really know what to make of this one. It's too tough to see who's going to win it.
Well, exactly, and it could well be the game that decides the Six Nations Championship, really. You've got an Ireland team who really looked very impressive at the Millennium Stadium in the first half, and then almost allowed Wales to come. Well, they did allow Wales to come back into it. England, since that beating New Zealand, I just think that they really believe that their destiny is to go and win the Six Nations and build up for the World Cup. And I'd be backing England to win that one. They didn't do it 2 years ago, but I think that's the way to go this time around.
Okay, final brave words to leave it on. Thank you very much indeed for that. Our thanks to Matt Glazier from bettingpro.com. That's all from us for now, but we'll be back at the same time next week. I'm Nigel Stevenson. This is Reuters.